Hello tubers, here we go again. This is the ista i1500 flying on the man cave. The ista i1500 is a 48 volt wind turbine. Yes, 48 volt. It had the mod done to it. It is feeding a 24 volt battery bank, lifep04, through an MPPT charge controller. Will this work? Well, first let's say this turbine has had the mod done to it, as well as the paint put on it so that it would be solve the water problems, or help solve some of the water problems with this turbine. And I'm waiting for the wind to kick out. Today we do have 20 kilometers winds coming and 40 kilometer gusts, but as of yet they're not here, so this will be a two-part video. Again, ista i1500 with a 48 volt wind turbine on a lifep04 24 volt battery bank. Will it work? With no wind, we can say, we'll explain all the components and the parts used, because they're all the same as what I've been using with the i700. So when you overvolt the turbine with the setup that I have, it's set in my readmes, or it's not a lot of information out there, that these turbines will only produce 50% because they are overvolted, meaning it's double the voltage on the turbine compared to the battery bank. But the charge controller don't care, nor does the batteries. But by the double the voltage, the windings in the stator are a lot smaller, and it's gonna reduce the capacity of the turbine. That's what the readmes told me. As of yet, I don't know, but we're gonna find out, and when I do, I will post those results. However, the upgrade of this turbine, the advantage is it'll start creating power in lower winds. Well, my winds are 20 kilometer winds. Any turbine, it doesn't matter the turbine, is not going to start to create power until 20 kilometer winds. So with that said, this should start and make power when it does turn at a lot lower voltage. It'll create higher ampage. So that's the goal. So I set the amp, the watt hours rather, and I wrote it down. It's at 2385, and I'm just waiting for this bad boy to turn up. And I don't mind losing half of the capacity to gain the higher watt hours, because that's what's of interest. And if this test is not a success, because that's what it is a test, then this was bought for the off-grid homestead anyways, for the 48 volt system. So I will run that turbine, if it doesn't success here, on the main homestead, because that's what it was purchased for. However, if this is a success, then I will leave the turbine on here with the overvolt on it and buy another one probably later in the year, when I can swing up a few bucks on this and put it on the homestead. However, I had the i700 here. That's going to go to the young fellas camp if this is a success here. If it's not, then it may have to go back on here. We'll see. Time will tell. But that's a 24 volt turbine, and the young fellas off-grid camp's a 12 volt battery bank, lifep04. If this works, that's what we're going to do there, but that's for another video. However, I did the mod to the i1500. You can see that on another video. Them turbines are built in Istanbul, Turkey. These are the finest turbines I've seen on the market to date. They are the best bang for your buck, without question. Now, some people have had problems with these turbines. I get that, I know that. But understand that if you do the mod to it, like I have on another video, the i1500 ista mod, it's there. Look at it, you'll see. If you're going to run these turbines in North American terrain, we have very high winds in some areas, possibly overwind conditions, heavy snow, ice, a lot of rain, and so on. So it's my opinion that if you do the mod, maybe they're not built for this kind of a terrain, meaning you know that going in that there's problems with them, then fix it. So in my opinion, the generators in them and the blades are absolutely superb. They're top of the line, and that's what sparked my interest in this, to get back into wind turbines. Not to mention the new turbine MPPT charge controllers in combination with the two, that's what sparked my interest. But I will stick with the ista. I believe them to be the best bang for your buck and a very fine quality built product. And yes, it may not be without its problems in our terrain, but again, do the mod. I believe that will resolve the problems, at least for me. This is in my testing, and that's going to be the results. I will give them to you. Hopefully this thing spins up today. Again, we got some winds coming at us. When it does, this is the same charge controller I had on the i700. It's a 1,000 watt charge controller. The turbine, if I lose 50% of a 1,600 watt wind turbine, I should get 800 watts. If I, in high winds, I should get, or could get, in the readmes, 75% of that value. So that would be 1,200 watts, and that would exceed this. And it should force this to put the brake on and throw it into dump load on the automatic brake mode. So I don't know that outcome. I don't know if I'm going to exceed that. And if I do, it's obviously got to get into that mode. But I do have another charge controller. It's over here. And this one is the 48 volt charge controller. But I'm not sure if it'll do both 48 and 24, because the sticker on the top clearly says that it'll only do 48. Whereas the sticker on this says it's either 12 or 24. So with that said, I got to do some tests on that charge controller, because that is a 2,000 watt charge controller, which is double this one. And if it works on 24 volt and this turbine works, then I'll circulate that into this placement, because this charge controller will go with the 1224 up to the young fellas camp with the i700. So that's again for another video. But with that said, this is a 48 volt wind turbine on a 24 volt lifep04 battery bank. That's these Power Queens here. They have a built-in BMS, so a regulated charge controller, or MPPT regulated charge controller, is of interest. Now, can this be done with a 3-phase bridge rectifier? Yes, it can. The issue is, I know that I lose 50% of its capacity, but I start in lower winds to create power and more of it. That's the interest, and in the testing, that's what I want to find out, and it's not going to lie in the watt hours. However, at the battery voltage, when it's reached, it at that point grabs the power and holds it at that voltage. So until the voltage goes up, as the wind turbine speeds up, the amps go up, and it'll hold it at the battery voltage. So with that said, that's the interest that I have to see where I go with this, and that will be again another follow-up video. I'm waiting for the turbine to kick in and the winds to kick out. This has only just been set up, and I do not know the results myself, but that's why I'm breaking this into 2 videos. This is going to be part 1, and the other one will be a follow-up of the results, whether it's a win or a loss. But with that said, there will be a follow-up video on that with the i1500 48 volt wind turbine running on a 24 volt lifep04 battery bank. Will it charge it? We're about to find out. Till that comes for the wind to kick out, that's all I got, tubers.